June 22nd, 2023 edition of studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. I'm founder of Student Loan Justice. We've been around for 18 years now. We are the first, the oldest, the largest, and the only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. That means two things, guys. Number one, the return of constitutionally enshrined bankruptcy rights to all student loans. But number two, it means student loan cancellation, because the federal student loan program in this country is, by all rational metrics, failed. It's finished. So I've got a couple of announcements. We're really busy right now. We've got many media requests as we look forward to these loans being turned back on. And we also look forward to this, in my humble opinion, kind of meaningless Supreme Court case on Joe Biden's student loan cancellation gimmick. And it is a gimmick. It's unimpressive. There's a lot of media interest right now. So yesterday, our people and us were featured front page at The Guardian. So that's great news. Just over the past couple of weeks, we've been featured in all manner of media, local media, national radio. And we've got some very big mainstream media interview requests going right now. So if you look up or down on our Facebook group, you can see them for yourself. But the big picture is this, guys. Even before the pandemic, 3 out of 5, like 58.9% of all borrowers were not making payments on their student loans. And even discounting for people who are in school or in their grace period, still over half of student loan borrowers were not paying on their student loans. That's going to go up drastically. It's going to go up to 4 out of 5 easily, maybe even higher than that is my best guess. So there's that. Also, I need to make a fundraising appeal to you all. We need to raise somewhere around $800 next week, by the end of next week. And I would love to get a jump on it if I possibly could, guys. We don't do deals with bad guys. The only funding source that we get is in the form of personal gifts from you to me, and it keeps our lights on and it keeps our computer on and stuff like that. So if you can help, would you just please do that? And so, student loan cancellation started with this group, guys, by executive order anyhow. We first launched the idea before anybody was talking about canceling student loans by executive order into the public conversation, first in August 2019, but then with our petition in March 2020. So believe you me, we are fully on board. We are the genesis of the fight for canceling student loans by executive order. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, and this is the most important policy point I'll make tonight. We are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation, no matter how this Supreme Court case turns out. Not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the leverage of bankruptcy returned to us. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution. Like, not even the Bill of Rights, the body of the Constitution itself. They knew something. They were smart on this. And lo and behold, here we are 250 years later. This right has been uniquely stripped from both federal and private student loans. It lies at the core of the whole problem. So a lot of people are wondering what they can do to help. Number one, we have got to fight to get these bankruptcy rights back. We came really close last session. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We hate both parties. But last session, the Democrats, believe it or not, betrayed us big time. So we have got our work cut out for us, guys. The loans will be turned back on, by all appearances, at the end of the summer. And the collection companies are drooling. They are sharpening their knives. And so this is, and by the way, if you have any questions or comments, I'm going to keep it as short as I possibly can tonight, hopefully less than 15 minutes. If you have any questions or comments and I can see them on Facebook and or on Twitter, then by all means, throw them out. And if I can see them, I will definitely respond to them. So tonight, guys, I just want to put out a warning to you all. As I said, we've been doing this for 18 years now. And there has always been a cottage industry of debt coaches and student loan lawyers and people who really sound like they're fighting for student loan borrowers. Even some groups like I don't know, student debt crisis, who they go, yeah, we're all for student loan cancellation. But in fact, the fact of the matter is, these people are trying to make money off of your ass through convincing you to do things like loan rehabilitation if you're in default, loan consolidation, some tremendous money that they can make in commissions on these machinations. It's always been true. And ladies and gentlemen, they are going to turn it up to 11 on this going forward. I'm hearing everywhere, and I'm seeing with my own eyes, all sorts of crazy outfits that seem legitimate, and some of them even have 501c3s. And yeah, they're all doing the same nonsense, guys. They're trying to make money off of your ass. They don't want to solve the student loan problem. They're making too much money on the student loan problem to actually want to solve it. Like student loan rehabilitation, for example. This is where you typically pay for 10 months. None of that goes to knock off the balance of your loan, by the way. It all goes into the pocket of whoever convinces you to do this. Then you ultimately wind up signing for a much larger, brand shiny new undefaulted loan. And there's like a 16% commission that goes to the agent that makes this happen. So there's some huge money involved, and it all comes from your ass in the form of increased debt. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to tell you, please, if you're smart, even if you're in default, please just don't fall for these scams. If somebody says that they can help you with your student loans, ask them all the tough questions. Ask them how they are being compensated through this, how much they would stand to be compensated through it. And by the way, report them to us if you would, please. If you see them on our Facebook group, or even if they approach you or somehow you connect with them, even anywhere on Facebook or otherwise, let us know so that if we see them on our group, we can kick them off of our group. Like there's a guy, Adam Minsky. He calls himself the student loan lawyer. And this guy is the biggest fraud charlatan that you can possibly imagine. He actually even writes for Forbes magazines. This guy is an absolute predator. He's a parasite. The fact that he writes for Forbes magazine just kind of says it all. But anyways, I could start naming all kinds of names, and the list is long, ladies and gentlemen. But please, just be smarter than that. Everything out there, including the government's new Fresh Start program to get your loans out of default, it is just riddled with downsides that you may not think about. And, I won't say anything more than that, but I will say, guys, going forward, everybody and their brother is going to try and convince you to get your loans out of default, to consolidate your loans into the direct program, to rejigger your loans, and ultimately sign on the dotted line and thus legitimize whatever unmanageable debt that you had going into this whole catastrophe. Many years of history has shown us that none of these things ever turn out in the favor of the borrower. All of these things, 100% of the time, have always wound up being terrible for the borrower. Those loan rehabilitations that I was telling you about, 80% of the time, 75 or 80% of the time, those, maybe even more in more recent years, wind up defaulting again. So just imagine if you rehabilitate a $50,000 defaulted loan for $100,000, and then you default on that loan again. Well, now that $100,000 monstrosity is now a $150,000, $200,000 beast. This is the scam, guys. Just don't fall for it. So, And, you know, I've actually heard some rumors that even this project on predatory student debt outfit that Harvard is running is now getting into the game. I don't know if that's true or not yet, but it would not surprise me at all. Everybody and their brother who works for the swamp, who is in league with the Department of Education, the servicers, the whole student loan beast in whatever form it may take. Everybody and their brother has a financial interest in getting you to sign for a new loan, to rejigger your loans, to do all sorts of things that I can almost absolutely guarantee you are not in your best interest. Very important, guys. The best advice I have for everybody watching me tonight, and I know there's not a lot of good advice to give there, to give to anyone. Number one, I'd say bulletproof yourself. The fact of the matter is, when they turn these loans back on, my best guess is that something like 4 out of 5 borrowers are not going to resume paying. It could get very ugly. In fact, it will get very ugly. Bulletproof yourself. Bulletproof yourself. That means different things for different people. Maybe you want to become a 1099 contractor rather than an employee to guard against wage garnishment. Maybe you want to put your assets in some sort of a, hide your assets under your pillow where they can be protected. Maybe it means, I don't know, many people I've talked to pay a very small amount every like 269 days to keep their loans out of default. I've never met anybody who said that didn't work, although the law is a little unclear on that. And I can maybe talk about that a little bit if you want me to. But bottom line, guys, is that we got screwed last session. The Democrats chose to betray us. And we hate the Republicans, by the way. This is not a partisan group at all. But the Democrats really screwed us on bankruptcy last session, guys. The number one goal of the student loan collection industry, the servicers, that whole crowd, number one goal is to get these loans turned back on and for bankruptcy to remain gone from the loans. So that first thing, getting the loans turned back on, that is going to happen. So the second thing I would tell you beyond bulletproofing yourself is you better get off of your ass and you better help us fight like mad, fight harder than you've ever fought in your life before for anything to get bankruptcy rights returned to these loans. Because come September 1st, guys, when they turn these loans back on, if we don't have our bankruptcy rights returned, it's going to be a fucking bloodbath. And big shame, by the way, on the other groups who have gone suspiciously silent on the bankruptcy issue. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed of themselves. And maybe one other quick thought you may want to be aware of. If you think that bankruptcy is now easier than it was before because of this new bankruptcy process, be very careful. It is not. This new bankruptcy process is a cruel joke. All it is another little golden carrot that these bankruptcy attorneys can hang in their window to coerce you into, number one, filing for bankruptcy, which costs, I don't know, maybe $1,000. But number two, spending several thousand more dollars to try an adversarial proceeding, to try and get your loans discharged by being able to prove undue hardship, which has not changed, guys. It is as hard to prove undue hardship now as it has ever been. And in years past, 150,000 people a year filing for bankruptcy with student loans on average, like 20 or 10 or 15, or I think even less some years, actually get discharges on their loans. There is no good reason to think that will increase significantly. There is every good reason to think that the chances of you being able to get your loans discharged in bankruptcy today is roughly the same as winning the lottery, like 30 in 150,000, whatever those odds are. They're not good at all. So guys, it's going to get very ugly out there. There's going to be all manner of people trying to coax you into doing what will almost certainly turn out to be incredibly unwise things with your loans. And so I'm just going to leave it there at that. I'm looking for your comments right now. I don't know that I'm going to have time to get through them all, or maybe even any of them. So I am. So we have quite a few comments here. I'll get to as many as I can. Give me 1 minute, if you would, please. Oh, Lisa Ansel says, a major journalist who covers the student loan crisis is looking for people to interview for Market Watch. Oh, that's a new one. Right now, we've got like Barron's and Financial Times, and we already did Guardian, Newsweek, Bloomberg, and like 3 others. Did I say the New York Times? That I can't think of right now. But yeah, you can see Lisa's comment here on this Facebook. Oh, you're talking about Arthy's swarm of Ethon, Lisa? Arthy's terrible. Yahoo Finance is terrible on the student loan issue. They always have been. It's absolutely terrible, but whatever. You know, and I don't like to tell people what to say when they're interviewed, but the bottom line is this lending system is failed. And no matter what Biden does or doesn't do, whatever the Supreme Court does or doesn't do, this lending system is finished. The pandemic was the nail in the coffin, and that's by all rational metrics. In my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dollar back on certainly on their federal student loans. In my humble opinion, that's not only unwise, I think it's quite unpatriotic at this point. Don't feed the beast. But at the same time, it would be hugely irresponsible for me to call for a payment stoppage like the other groups are doing without also in the very same breath saying, because the reality is most people simply will not resume paying on their loans. Not going to happen. But it's hugely irresponsible unless I couple that with the very strong call to fight with everything you got to get your members of Congress, your senators and your member of the House of Representatives to return standard bankruptcy rights to student loans. It's the most important thing. It's going to be a fucking bloodbath, guys, when they turn these loans back on and bankruptcy rights remain gone. We don't want that to happen. You know, we've got 1.4 million people on this group. And if 1.4 million people on this group, for example, were calling both of their senators and their House rep and telling them in no uncertain terms to return standard bankruptcy rights to all student loans, that would happen. It would happen within a month. We would melt every phone switchboard in Washington, D.C. We would destroy every Twitter account. But that all starts with you. All starts with you. And if you think somebody else on this group is going to pull your weight for you, that never happens. So yeah, let's give that Arthy swarm of Ethon a dose of reality. And don't sound helpless. Don't sound pathetic. We are strong, ladies and gentlemen. We control this lending system. We are the lending system. You know, the lending thieves and parasites are way more afraid of us than we should be of them. You know, the golden rule is, at least if you listen to Washington, D.C. lawyers, the golden rule is he who holds the gold makes the rules. We, ladies and gentlemen, we, the people, hold that gold. And don't you ever forget that. Lisa also says, it is disgraceful that this luxury Titanic submarine company received hundreds of thousands in PPP loans, and yet they overlooked major repair issues that resulted in the tragic death of all the press. Yeah, you know, I don't like to talk about tragedies, unrelated tragedies like that so much. You know, it's a horrible thing what happened, but yeah, guys, so many people took out PPP loans who suffered absolutely no loss in revenue due to the COVID pandemic. And that company and many, 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 many others is probably is probably right on that same in that class. It's disgusting. And you know, just so you know, I say this every night, but I should say it again. You know, PPP loans were expensive. They cost nearly $1 trillion, had to be drawn from the Treasury, added to the national debt. every nickel of federally owned student loans, every nickel, every penny can be canceled without needing one dime drawn from the Treasury and without adding even one nickel added to the national debt. So think about that. Okay, guys, I'm sorry I can't get to all your comments tonight. I did my best. I'm over time. But I hope that you will rewind this video. I hope that you will take what I said seriously. You got to think for yourself, guys. This is the Wild West. We don't know what's going to happen, but it does not look good at all right now. You better watch your own ass. You better take care of yourself. And I can't tell you everything you need to do. Bulletproofing yourself means different things for different people. But the one thing I would say is don't be afraid. Be courageous. Be strong. And it's going to take some strong stomachs. And again, you got to help us fight. We're getting down to the worst case scenario here. And we'll see. The Supreme Court case was not announced today, probably will be a week from today, and that will inform our actions going forward. But be smart, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Wild West out there. So I'll be back tomorrow. Keep fighting. You can always do our daily actions. If you're wondering what you can do, go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. You can always do our daily actions. Do a month worth of our daily actions. And again, don't think anybody's going to pull your weight. That never happens. So very last thing, that just because I have to say this, please donate if you would. If you appreciate what this group's all about and what we do, and how we are literally the only group that I am aware of that's actually fighting this fight in the way that it needs to be fought. We are the thought leaders in this whole thing. We are the tip of the spear in the battle for true, not fake, true student loan justice. So, all right, good luck. God bless and Godspeed, everyone.